This happened a while back. It was November 2004. I'm stationed at Fort Stewart, Georgia, getting ready to deploy to Baghdad in about a month. The stress of the upcoming deployment has had me on edge already, and my girlfriend, Jen, who I've been with for about 9 months, tells me she wants to come down and spend the week of Thanksgiving with me. She's a culinary student, and she says she's going to bring me some food. Thanksgiving platters, she called them. It was something to look forward to, something normal in the middle of everything. She lives about 13 hours away, so I get on MapQuest to help her plot the route, tell her to keep me updated as she gets closer. I'm expecting regular calls or texts, but hours go by and I hear nothing. I try calling her cell phone, but it's off. I'm getting a little concerned, but I tell myself she's just driving through a bad signal area. An hour passes, still nothing. By 8 p.m., I'm pacing. I decide to check online, and that's when I see her sister pop up on AIM, freaking out. She asks me if Jen was supposed to be coming down to see me. Now, Jen had told me she wasn't planning to tell anyone about the trip, so I lie and say no. Her sister's response: the police called. Jen was hit by a semi-truck on the highway. They found her wrapped up in her convertible top, unresponsive. EMTs got there, but she wasn't conscious. Her sister tells me the family is heading to the hospital. I'm in shock. Panic sets in. I'm trying to figure out what the hell is going on. I spend the whole night trying to get more information. I reach out to everyone I can think of, including my chain of command. I start calling police dispatches along the East Coast, every hospital within 200 miles of her home address. I even get a sheriff's deputy in North Carolina to start looking into it. I contacted a private investigator. Nothing. Nobody's heard anything about a girl getting hit by a truck. It's like it never happened. The next morning, I'm still sitting on no news. My mom, who's been suspicious of Jen for a while, gets involved. She calls their house, and guess what? They pick up right away. Jen's family tells her to tell me that Jen does not want to talk to me anymore. There was no accident, no semi, nothing. Just like that, I'm sitting there in disbelief. How could they lie about something like this? I'm pissed. I grab a different phone and call Jen's mom myself. This time, she accuses me of being one of those guys. Someone not good enough for her daughter. I don't take that lightly. I remind her exactly who I am and what I'm about to do, meaning I'm about to go to war, and I don't have time for bullshit. She backs off, but nothing makes sense. 2 weeks later, out of nowhere, Jen calls me. She says she got released from the hospital. She's acting like everything's fine, like nothing happened. I don't let her get away with this. I tell her how she seriously screwed up, how I contacted police departments, hospitals, even private investigators. People in my unit were worried. People were putting real work into trying to find out what happened to her, and it was all fake. She calls me an asshole and hangs up. Not even 5 minutes later, she's online. Her AIM away message says, "Spending time with my Joey Bear." Joey Bear. That was the guy she'd been seeing behind my back the whole time, apparently. I saw red. I typed out, "I hope you actually do get hit by a semi-truck next time." I don't regret saying it. That was the end of it. We never spoke again after that, and frankly, I'm glad. I don't know if she ever felt any guilt for what she put me through, but I'm sure as hell she's not worth another thought. We got married after only knowing each other for 6 months. It was rushed, I know, but at the time I was in the army, and getting married came with a lot of financial benefits. I won't lie, that was part of the reason we tied the knot so fast. That, and I thought I loved her. Huge mistake. Looking back, there were warning signs even during our courting period. Little flashes of instability that I just brushed off. My gut was telling me something was off, but I ignored it. I figured I was overthinking things, maybe being too harsh. After all, everyone has their quirks, right? But things really changed after we got married. She became overbearing, possessive. I couldn't go anywhere without her accusing me of cheating or flirting with other girls. One time, my cousin, a female cousin, texted me just to ask how I was doing. My ex-wife flipped out like I'd been caught having an affair. She screamed at me, went through my phone, and accused me of all kinds of stuff I hadn't even thought about. It got worse. She would show up at work. No warning, no reason. I worked in the orderly room, basically company HQ. She'd sit out in the parking lot for hours, just watching. The whole time, she'd be blowing up my phone, asking what I was doing, who I was talking to, and when I was coming out. It was exhausting. She went through my phone constantly, checking my texts, calls, anything she could find. I'm not proud to admit it, but after a while, I started doing the same to her. The paranoia rubs off after a while. Then there were the nights out. At first I'd go out with her, but I'm not a big fan of the club scene, and she was going out 3, sometimes 4 nights a week. Eventually I stopped going, but I wasn't comfortable with it. I mean, who parties that much, especially when they're married? She'd flip out if I tried to say anything. She'd go on about how she needed to relieve stress. But then came the questionable texts and phone calls from guys. I don't know for sure if she cheated, but there was a lot of shady stuff happening. I asked her about it, but you can guess how that went. She'd turn it around on me, make it sound like I was the one doing something wrong just for asking. The final straw was one Saturday night. She went out and did not come home until 6 a.m., drunk off her ass. I had been home all night, playing video games with a friend. When she stumbled in, she immediately accused me of sleeping with someone while she was out. It was insane. I hadn't left the apartment. She lost it, screaming, hitting me, accusing me of things that made no sense. She actually bit me, hard, on my right bicep, and pulled out a chunk of my hair. I had no choice but to hold her down on the bed, just to stop her from completely going off the rails. The whole time, she was screaming at me, threatening to call the cops, saying I had hurt her when she was the one attacking me. Eventually, she calmed down, but after that night, something broke between us. I packed up and left, moved to another state to put as much distance as I could between us. But the crazy did not stop. Even now, I still get phone calls and texts from her, asking for money, asking me to come back. I've blocked her number more times than I can count, but she always finds a way to reach out. It's like she just can't let go. I've moved on with my life, but every now and then I'll get a random message from a number I don't recognize, and sure enough, it's her. The whole thing just makes me wonder how I ever let myself get into that situation in the first place. Biggest mistake of my life. A few months ago, I went through one of the worst breakups of my life. I caught my girlfriend cheating on me. Straight up walked in on her with someone else. The details aren't important, but I ended it immediately. No long conversations, no second chances. She cried, begged for me to forgive her, and even promised it would never happen again. But I wasn't having any of it. I blocked her on everything right after, cut her out completely. I was done. Fast forward a few months, and things are starting to look up. I had a new girlfriend, Sarah, and we were doing great. I got promoted at work, which felt like a huge win after everything that had happened. To celebrate, I planned a week-long getaway to a tropical island with Sarah. Just a chance to unwind, relax, and forget about everything. And everything was going perfect for the first few days. The island was beautiful, the weather was perfect, and Sarah was having the time of her life. She kept taking pictures of us, the beach, our food, everything, and posting them on Instagram. I did not think much of it. It was normal. People post about their vacations all the time. On the fourth night, though, things got chaotic. It was late, probably around 10 p.m. We just come back to our condo after a long day out, and we're getting cleaned up. Sarah was in the shower, and I was just about to hop in myself when we heard this loud banging on the front door. At first, I figured it was someone at the wrong condo, or maybe security doing rounds. But then it happened again, louder and more aggressive. Sarah poked her head out from the bathroom, asking me if I ordered something or expected someone. I hadn't, so I went to the door and called out, asking who it was. No answer, just more banging. I'll admit, I was starting to feel uneasy. My first thought was maybe some drunk guest or something like that, but I decided to check. I cracked the door open just a little to see who was out there, and the next thing I know, the door flies open, and my ex, yes, my ex-girlfriend, comes charging in. She was screaming, her face twisted in this insane mix of anger and desperation. She immediately lunged at me, trying to claw at my face, and I was barely able to hold her back. She was flailing around, knocking things over, and screaming at the top of her lungs about how I ruined her life. Sarah came running out of the bathroom, still dripping wet, and my ex turned on her, trying to grab anything she could as a weapon. It was complete chaos. I was able to pin her down long enough for Sarah to call hotel security, but it was honestly terrifying. My ex was out of control, shouting that she'd never let me go, that I was hers, and she didn't care who else was in the picture. I just kept holding her down, praying that security would get there soon. When they finally arrived, they had to physically drag her out to the condo. I was shaking. Sarah was crying. It was an absolute nightmare. Turns out, she had been stalking my new girlfriend's Instagram, saw all the posts about our trip, and, get this, booked a flight to the island just to confront us. She was so messed up over the breakup that she actually flew across the world to attack me. Who does that? We pressed charges, and she was arrested and sent back to the States. I'm not sure what's happened with her since, but I haven't heard from her, and I plan to keep it that way. Honestly, it was the craziest experience of my life. I never imagined someone I was with could turn into that kind of person. But I'm happy to say that Sarah and I are still together, and I even plan on proposing to her soon. Life is good now, but that whole ordeal was something I'll never forget. If you ever think blocking someone after a bad breakup is harsh, trust me, it's sometimes the best decision you can make. It was my senior year of high school when I started dating this guy. He had graduated the year before and joined the Air Force and was stationed somewhere down south, Virginia or South Carolina. I can't really remember. We met through mutual friends, and it was pretty casual from the start. We'd mostly hang out playing video games, sometimes with his brothers and cousins, who were also friends of mine. Honestly, I wasn't feeling it. I had just gotten out of a 3-year long-distance relationship, and I just wasn't ready to dive into anything serious again. It wasn't his fault at all. He was a nice guy, but I did not have it in me to keep going with it. So right before Thanksgiving, I told him. I tried to be as nice as possible about it, explaining that I just wasn't in the right headspace for a relationship. He didn't take it well, though. He told his brothers and cousins, and while they didn't really seem to care much, I could tell he was upset. His family had moved to a different state after he graduated, and he had planned to visit them for Thanksgiving as usual. The night before Thanksgiving, his cousin texted me asking if I had heard from him, because he hadn't shown up to his family house like he was supposed to. I hadn't heard from him, and thought it was weird, but I figured maybe he just needed some space. The next day, I had to perform with the band during the Thanksgiving football game. While we were playing, I saw him. He was standing awkwardly by a fence, staring at me. He did not come over or say anything, just stood there watching. He followed me when I walked with the rest of the band back to the bus, but I did not talk to him. I wasn't sure what to say. Honestly, it creeped me out. I got onto the bus and left without looking back. That night, I was at home when I got a text from him. It said, "Look out your front window." My heart sank. I got up, pulled the curtains back, and there he was, standing by the mailbox at the end of my driveway, still in his full Air Force uniform. He was just staring at my house. He had a box with him, and I watched as he put it under the mailbox, then walked back to his car. He did not leave, though. He just stood there, staring. I texted my brother, who was upstairs, and he went out to see what my ex wanted. By the time my brother got outside, he had already gotten into his car and driven off. I have no idea how long he'd been standing there before he texted me, but it felt like he had been watching for a while. The box he left had a picture of him inside it, along with an old sweatshirt of his that I'd borrowed when we first started dating. He had driven over 12 hours just to stand in my driveway, stare into my house, and leave a weird little box with a memento from our brief relationship. And it wasn't dangerous exactly, but it freaked me out. I never responded to him after that. I blocked his number and avoided any mutual friends for a while. To this day, I still get uncomfortable when I think about it. It wasn't some dramatic psycho ex situation, but it was definitely the creepiest thing that's ever happened to me. When I was about 21, I dated this guy who seemed cool at first, but he had a best friend that was, let's just say, off. This friend, Jake, was always a bit too much. I ignored the red flags because I liked the guy I was dating, but one night really made everything crystal clear. We had gone out drinking, and Jake got absolutely trashed. It started with him calling me names for no reason, really. At one point, he told everyone in the group I lacked manners. Like, okay, whatever, dude. But then it got worse. He started climbing all over the outside of my boyfriend's truck like a wild animal, spitting on my car and just completely losing it. I was so embarrassed, but also really confused why my boyfriend wasn't stepping in or telling Jake to chill. And eventually, we managed to get out of there, and I was relieved to finally be away from the chaos. We got back to my boyfriend's place, and after an hour or so, we were just about to fall asleep. That's when I saw flashlights shining in through the bedroom window. I thought maybe it was someone outside, but then I heard the garage door open. Now, I was starting to get seriously freaked out. A few minutes later, I heard rustling and stomping noises coming from the attic. My heart was racing, and I had no idea what was going on. My boyfriend, who was way too calm for the situation, handed me the phone and told me to call 911 if anything got out of control. Then, he said he was going to check it out. So I sat there, alone and trembling, holding the phone, completely on edge. After what felt like an eternity, probably about 10 minutes, I heard voices in the living room. I peeked out, expecting some sort of explanation, maybe even cops. But nope. There was my boyfriend, casually hanging out with Jake, who was acting like nothing had happened. They were chatting like it was just another Friday night, like the guy hadn't just climbed on trucks and spit on cars a few hours earlier. It made me think we were getting robbed. That was it for me. I realized that if my boyfriend thought this level of insanity was normal, I did not want to know what the future would hold. We broke up shortly after. Honestly, I'm glad I dodged that bullet before things got even weirder. Hey, what's up guys? It's Spooky. If you've made it this far, congratulations, you survived. If you did not know, I have an Instagram. Follow me on there so we can connect. I also have a Patreon. On there you'll have direct access to me and can see the upcoming videos, polls, and soon-to-be exclusive stories only shared on there. If that's something that interests you, please consider joining. That's all I have for you guys tonight. Stay spooky and I'll see you in the next video.